she was also pushing the authorities to try to reopen this case was something incredibly gratifying for me.
Inside the camera, police also found around 90 photos, taken in the middle of the night, a week before they died. 11 years have passed since their disappearance, but the case has yet to be solved. People began to speculate about this case. Some said the victims died in an accident, were pounced on by wild animals in the forest, kidnapped, and some even believed that they were used as offerings from people from inland tribes. In this video, we will tell you the chronology of the incident and also the bizarre evidence that the police found during the investigation. Based on the evidence found, we want to know what you think happened to them. Let's get into the story. The two friends traveled to Latin America to celebrate their graduation. Lisanne recently graduated with a degree in applied sciences, and Kris with a degree in sociocultural education. On March 15, 2014, they departed from Amsterdam Airport for Costa Rica, from where they traveled to Bocas del Toro in Panama. As well as spending some time on the beach, they also learned a little Spanish and enjoyed the local food and drink. They also met two Dutch men who were visiting the area. On March 29th, 2 weeks after arriving in Panama, they moved to Boquete, a city on the western side of the country. Kris and Lisanne had originally planned to teach local children at a school. However, their travel agent later said they couldn't do that because they had spent 6 months planning their trip to Panama, which was supposed to be part vacation and part business trip. They were disappointed with this and decided to stay with a local family in the Alto Boquete area for a few days. On April 1st, 2014, they left Boquete in the middle of a sunny morning to climb the La Pianista trail. As the name suggests, the trail is up and down. They plan to climb to the summit about 8 kilometers from the city. According to the taxi driver, they were dropped off at the start of the route at midday. However, evidence from the woman's camera shows that it was around 11 a.m. It takes 2.5 to 3 hours for a moderately fit person to reach the summit, so the total round trip is estimated at 5 to 6 hours. They set out wearing tank tops and shorts. Their backpacks were light, containing only their passports, water bottles, a Canon PowerShot SX270 digital camera, about $80 in cash, and a cell phone. The off-trail areas are very steep, rugged, and dangerous. Conditions become even more dangerous during the rainy season from April to October. Even the indigenous and Gobi people in such conditions must walk carefully through the route. From the documentation on her camera, the two young women reached the summit around 1 p.m. From the summit, tourists usually turn back down the same route to climb the La Pianista trail back to Boquete. Several signs are now even placed at this spot, warning people not to continue the journey without a guide as the further terrain is very dangerous. However, it seems they decided to continue their journey, even though none of them brought any food or survival gear that would allow them to survive long in the forest. On April 2nd, Lisanne and Kris missed an appointment with a local tour guide who was supposed to take them sightseeing in Boquete, prompting the host family to notify authorities. The next morning, an aerial search of the forest was conducted as well as searches of villages and forest areas. As of April 6th, they were still missing. Fearing the worst, the families of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon flew to Panama, bringing along detectives from the Netherlands. Days turned into weeks, and after 10 weeks, there was still no good news from Lisanne and Kris. In June 2014, a local woman found their backpacks in a rice field by the Culebra or Serpent River near the village of Alta Romero. Inside the backpack were 2 pairs of sunglasses, $83 in cash, Lisanne Froon's passport, a bottle of water, and 2 bras. Also most important inside were Lisanne's camera and both of the woman's cell phones. Police immediately investigated the cameras and phones and found disturbing evidence. The phones remained working for almost 10 days after the women disappeared. Over the course of just 4 days, 77 separate attempts were made to contact the police, either via 112, the emergency number in the Netherlands, or 911, the emergency number in Panama. Using the call logs, police were able to get a snapshot of the time the girls spent missing in the forest. The first 2 emergency calls occurred just hours after Kris and Lisanne started dialing the 112 emergency number. Due to the dense forest, neither attempt was successful. In fact, out of all 77 calls, only 1 managed to make contact, but was disconnected after only 2 seconds. Police also found that on April 6th, several unsuccessful attempts were made to unlock Kris's phone with the wrong PIN number. The phone never received the correct number again, and on April 11th, both phones died. The second set of photos, however, is worrying. Taken in the middle of the night, between 1 and 4 a.m. on April 8th, The photos show the girls' belongings scattered on a rock, plastic bags and candy wrappers, a strange pile of dirt, a mirror, and most alarmingly, the back of Kris Kremers' head with blood oozing from her temple. After investigating the area where the backpack was found, police found Kremers' clothes neatly folded along the riverbank. 2 months later, in the same area, pelvic and leg bones were found still inside the boots. Shortly afterward, the bones of the 2 women were found. Lisanne Froon's bones looked like they had decomposed naturally, as there were still pieces of flesh attached to them. Kris Kremers' bones were pale white and looked like they were turning white. The police had questioned locals, tour guides, and other hikers who were in the area at the time, but there was no evidence other than photos and call records that could provide them with proof of what had happened. There wasn't even enough evidence to determine the cause of death. To this day, the disappearance and death of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon remains a terrible mystery. What do you think? Did they really have an accident? Or were they kidnapped and killed or used as sacrifices by the tribes of the interior? Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please subscribe and please write in the comments for criticism and suggestions.